The honourable member for Calare.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry. Is the Minister aware of the serious funding difficulties facing rural financial counselling services, and that the Central West Service covering my electorate has indicated it's unable to carry on beyond March 2005, a situation not dissimilar to other services in New South Wales, a state which is still 80% drought declared?
The honourable Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry.
Mr Speaker, in the last federal budget, the federal government made a commitment to continue its funding to the financial counselling services. We recognise the valuable role that they play in many rural communities, particularly in times of drought and when there are trouble in particular industries. There have been no cutbacks in Commonwealth funding for the financial counselling service. Whether there are particular difficulties in an individual service is a matter I'm not particularly aware of, but if the honourable member cares to give me more details about the circumstances of that particular service, I'll follow it up. But I can assure the House that the Commonwealth is committed to the financial counselling service and that our funding is in place for the term of the forward estimates.
The honourable member for Hinkler.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is addressed to the Attorney-General. Would the Attorney-General advise the House of the Government's efforts to protect the institution of marriage? Is the Attorney-General aware of any alternative statements on this issue?
Order. The Honourable the Attorney-General. Member for Rankin.
Mr Speaker, I thank the honourable member for Hinkler for his question, and I know that he is very interested in this matter, as would all members, because the government's desire, Mr Speaker, is quite clear. It's to protect the institution of marriage, and our position is unequivocal on that. The Marriage Amendment Bill reflects fundamental concerns in the community that the institution of marriage is being eroded.
Member for Brisbane.
Now, these are not matters of hypothetical concern, as have been suggested in some quarters. These are not matters of hypothetical concern. Let me just say that. We know of at least 2 applications currently before our courts seeking the validation in Australia of same-sex marriages performed in Canada. Now, the government believes these matters should be made clear, that the parliament should put the matters beyond doubt, and the bill that has been passed by this chamber and is now in another place awaiting consideration simply reinforces what is commonly accepted as the definition of marriage, that is, a union of a man and a woman to the exclusion of all others, voluntary, entered into for life. Now, one would believe that this is the view of the Labor Party, because the Shadow Attorney-General, the member for Gellibrand, had this to say, I think, at a forum here in Canberra last week, and I quote, "Let me make it clear, Labor does not support gay marriage. Labor supports the institution of marriage as an important social and, for many, a religious union between a man and a woman." Now, that didn't seem to me to be ambiguous, but when you weigh it up against what others seem to be saying, and when you weigh up against their actions that they have taken, you might well have some doubts. You see, I've read some reports in a newspaper today that said, reported in the Australian, that there was some discussion about this at a Labor caucus yesterday. On Monday.
The Attorney-General has the call. Member for Lawler.
Well,
the Attorney-General has the call. Attorney-General resume his seat. The Attorney-General resume his seat. I remind the member for Gellibrand and the member for Lawler of Standing Order 55. The Attorney-General has the call. The member for Rankin is warned.
Mr Speaker, we might have heard a wider spectrum of views if it had been the caucus, but I stand corrected. It was the Shadow Cabinet in what we are told was an escalated 90-minute fight over Labor's support for the ban on gay marriage. And it mentions the member for Grainler, the member for Bruce, the member for Melbourne and Senator Kate Lundy. Now, I mean, what I find is interesting in relation to these comments are that it is asserted on the other side, that all candidates should support our policies. Well, there appears to be a variety of views in relation to this matter, and if you read the same article further on, what you find is that some people are going out and holding out to others that the Labor Party has another position. There is in the same article referred to a Labor MP who would not be named, who said Miss Roxon deserved a dressing down for her comments. She didn't need to go that far. We had convinced the gay and lesbian community that we were on their side, and she went out and insulted them. Now, I don't know where the Labor Party stands on these matters, but it seems to me that they're trying to walk both sides of the street. That's what it seems to me. And what I think we need to see from the Leader of the Opposition is leadership on this issue. And I just want to make it very clear. When you had an opportunity, and I found another quote from the Honourable Member for Gellibrand, the Honourable Member for Gellibrand on radio station 2CC here in Canberra on the 5th of August had this to say, and I quote, and it's speaking about the bill going to the Senate, "So when it gets presented to us, we will vote for it. We've never said anything otherwise to the gay community or to the broader community." Well, of course, what we know is when the bill went from this chamber and was presented to the Senate, the first available opportunity, the Labor Party voted against a first reading. The Labor Party voted against a first reading. Now, if they were serious and were going to deal with it at the first opportunity, they would have dealt with it then. You'll have another opportunity to do so, and we'll see where you stand then.